Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out JasmyCoin's price chart, and unfortunately, what we expected pretty much played out. However, no worries, in today's update, I'm going to tell you why I'm gonna start bottom hunting in Jasmy, and in fact, we are extremely close to hit our final low, and who knows, maybe even for that matter, our final low is already here. So, with all that good stuff, let's go on 15-minute time frame and tell you what is happening. If you remember, the last time that we talked about JasmyCoin, I think we were right around the highs, and the idea was that there's actually a good chance that this move on the upside is going to be an ABC. But if you want to be a bit more careful, then okay, just wait a bit more and see. Are we going to get a move down in order to take this important low or not? If we have this, then okay, at that point you have to kind of argue this is a zigzag up, meaning what? Our move down is going to continue, and in it we are going to take the loss for the first target, but we may end up going quite a bit lower than that, and that I would say pretty much played out. Now, in terms of the subwaves and what is happening in this region, in my view, we are probably having from this high, or maybe actually even here, doesn't really matter, a wave 1 followed by a flat into wave 2, another move down into wave 3, correction for 4, and yet another move on the downside into wave 5. So you see, you do actually have an argument to be made for this point right in here to be the end of your wave 5 and potentially and hopefully even your final low. Does this mean right now, effective immediately, we should flip 100% bullish and call this thing our final bottom with a lot of confidence? I'll be honest with you, nope, not really. And that's actually the main topic of today's update. You see, if you want to say that we're gonna have our final low around this area, maybe this is like a very important support. And by the way, I forgot to tell you this is actually a very important support in Jasmy. Then okay, you have to be able to find off of the lowest low a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the upside, and pay attention, this wave 3 is usually the strongest wave. Okay, it's very important to know that. But the general rules for this impulse are we should actually not have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4 and wave 3 under any kind of circumstances in any kind of 5 wave should not be the smallest wave. Okay, this is a very important point. And for our sub waves, you know it, we must be able to find 5 wave up into wave 1, 3 and 5. And for our corrections for wave 2 and 4, we can have so many different possibilities. Let's say, yeah, okay, ABC into wave 2 and like a WXY into wave 4. Now let's go on the live chart and see what is going on, and here is what I want to see in Jasmy. Sure, I am actually able to identify from here to about the highs if I go, for example, on 5 or maybe even 1 minute time frame, an impulsive rusher, and followed by that there's a decent chance that we are having in this whole area a correction down. So in the short term, I do think we are probably going to get yet another move on the upside. However, that's not going to be enough for me personally to flip bullish. No, I need to see, you know what, a 1, 2, and this is kind of the key, a strong move on the upside right away into wave 3 and 4 and 5. And especially if in this phase in Jasmy, we manage to take this important height right in here about 1.3 cents, you know what, that can be like a really good sign suggesting the final low has already been achieved. Now here's the deal, even around the highs for you, it's not going to be a long opportunity. Why? Okay, simple question. Even if you want to go with the most optimistic scenario, what's gonna happen after a 5 wave up? I think you know the answer. We are going to have a move on the downside, but that move must be a slow and choppy one, and this is actually the point. You see, when we get something like this, assuming that we are able to identify all the right subwaves, fair enough, this can be a great long opportunity, because at that point you can argue maybe off of the lowest low we are having 5 wave up into 1, correction for wave 2, and what's next? Yep, you know it, huge move up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. As long as we are not seeing this thing, I think it's a little bit too soon to jump into any kind of bullish conclusions. And sure, the price is kind of around a very, very important support area, but that's not really going to guarantee that right away we are going to hit our final low. So you see, we should, under any kind of circumstances, not catch the absolute lows, because odds are, if you're gonna do that, and for example, if you want to open long positions around the lows without seeing some initial optimistic signs, you're actually going to overall lose quite a good bit of money. Why? Simple reason. You see, usually lows are achieved, let's say 3 or 2 out of 10 times. And well, if you want to open long positions in every single time you think that we have hit a low, odds are 7 out of 10 times you are going to lose money, which is definitely not ideal. For example, right in here, you may think, well, okay, we have hit our final low, let's open a long. Well, okay, guess what? Your stop loss has been hit, you lost money. What about this point without seeing an initial optimistic sign? Let's open a long position. Once more, you are going to lose money. What about this point without seeing an optimistic sign? Maybe this is going to continue a little bit more. And again, once more, you are going to end up losing your money. Okay, so I believe, and again, this is just my own opinion, we should not be in the business of catching absolute bottoms. We should just wait a little bit more and watch the current price action very closely and see, are we going to have a very strong bounce followed by a rather deep pullback? If we see this, then okay, right in here again can be a decent long opportunity for you. Now, let's also talk about a bit of a bearish scenario. You see, like we said it earlier, there is a chance that in Jasmy we are going to see a move up. And if we see this, I want to be very clear, under any kind of circumstances, we should not go down and take this important low, because that could be pretty much our bearish confirmation, suggesting, you know what, this was an ABC or maybe a WXY, generally some sort of a correction, indicating what, unfortunately, our move down is over. And here is what I have to say. You see, if we are going to have another move down in Jasmy, at that point, I'm willing to say odds are this is going to be a wave 1, correction for wave 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down, very, very clear one into wave 3, followed by that, this is probably going to be a corrective movement into wave 4, and what's next? Well, another move down into wave 5 in order to take the loss for the first target about 1.17 cents, but you know, maybe we are going to end up going a bit lower than that. Now, here's a question. What is one common pattern for wave 4 when your wave 2 is a rather deep correction structure? First of all, is it actually a deep correction or not? Let's just use Fibonacci's to see what is happening. Let's zoom in more. Excuse me. There we go. So as you can see, in this phase up, we retrace to about the 61.8% level, which in my view can be considered a deep corrective movement. In that case, your wave 4 should take some time. And what is a likely pattern in that scenario? I think if you are a regular viewer, you know it. We are going to have, in most cases, an A, B, C, D, E, which in terms of Elliott's waves, we call it a triangle. And in terms of the subwaves, basically you must be able to find ABCs for every single wave. There we go. ABC into wave D, and this is our final ABC up into E. And let's go on the live chart. You see, there is a chance that we're going to get, for example, an ABC in here, and then from these highs, we're going to have a rather good move down in order to take the loss. But pay attention, we may not immediately continue our downtrend and take the lowest low down here. Why? Because that actually might be, for example, an ABC down, followed by, you know it, ABC up, and then another ABC on the downside. And this is going to be our last ABC up in order to complete the subwaves for a beautiful ABCDE, a triangular structure. The point that I'm trying to make is this. I think if we get another move up at that point, this low is really going to be the decider of what might be next in Jasmy. And if we are bearish, then okay, odds are we are not going to immediately get a move down and take the loss. No, we are going to have a move down, but then after it, we are going to see some more chopping around. I'm going to say potentially for another 4 to 7 days. And then when we talk about JasmyCoin again, if we see something like this happening, well, at that point, you are going to see me calling for some more downward price action, unfortunately, in JasmyCoin. But for now, again, let's be optimistic as long as we're not proven otherwise. And in case you want to go long in Jasmy, I would like to suggest let's wait for some more bullish signs to show up in order for you to be able to be bullish with much more confidence. And here is my final point. You see, in terms of classic technical analysis, meaning supports and resistances, like we said it also at the beginning of the video, we are around a very important support area. And by the way, I think this was from weekly time frame, so it is very much in the cards that we're going to go for a very brief period of time under this level, but then quickly get a bounce back. And at that point, if you see this, please understand that this is going to be just a simple fake out, not an outright breakdown. Okay, however, if we end up getting a break of this level, meaning in weekly chart we see a candle close under here followed by a pullback and then a continuation of the move down, at that point you should probably count on yet another, let's say 15 to 20% move down in Jasmy. Why? Because the most important support under here is actually this one all the way down here between 0.9 of a cent to about the 1 cent area, meaning what? From here, yeah, okay, we are going to have like another 15 to 20% drop. But as long as we are above here, and also if hopefully we see some bullish structures, then okay, I don't really think that we should be considering JasmyCoin getting a break of this level. For now, let's just watch the current price action very closely and see what might be the next move in the next, let's say, 2 days, because that in my opinion is going to tell a very important story on what might be next. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in JasmyCoin. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.